around in the agenda. I promise I'm not going to leave and head home anytime early. I am committed, as I showed for the last few years, committed to staying until the end of community education policy meetings, at least to hear parents' perspectives. But if I could make a plug to the superintendent's report ahead a little bit in the agenda, so that if we do have teachers and principals, other staff that would like to be able to come and share their report on the work that's happening in the school, I feel like it would be respectful of their time, so we can get them home and prepare for the next day of school. That's all I have. Thanks so much for.
Thank you. I'll take that under advisement once we have our constituted council and our officers. I just want to note for the record that Councilmember Charles Love is now here, so we have 6 present and 4 not accounted for. I would just also ask, would any council members like to have any questions of Superintendent McGuire based on his report or anything that he said so far?
Good evening, Superintendent McGuire. A question on the interim acting principals. I know it has to go through the C30 process where you constitute parents and administrators and union folks, etc. How long do you expect that to go soup to nuts? In other words, how long do you expect that the interim actings are going to be, in fact, interim actings before you have a final permanent principal?
Okay. The Council of Supervisory Administrators, which is the union that supervises or supports principals and assistant principals and other staff members in the Department of Education, does seek for us to have this process completed within 90 days, I believe, the first 90 days. I will say that there are some possibilities for that timeline to be extended. And I think that we want to not commit fully to the 90-day timeline, because while some of the interim acting principals have been in the community for some time, others have not. And so it's going to be important for them to make sure that they are acquainted with the community. It's going to be important for community members to really be able to get to know the interim acting principals. And so we want to make sure that all sides really have all the knowledge, information, and relationships that they can build before we enter into that process, so that they can make an informed choice. In some cases, interim acting principals do not end up applying for the position of principal. In many cases, they do. But in this case, it's important to give this process as much time as it needs, and the community as much time as it needs to get to know each other and to make sure that they're in an informed choice of who should be the principal of this.
Do any other council members have any questions?
Yep. Superintendent McGuire, thank you for your data and information regarding the middle school admissions process of students who got the choices that they wanted. But I'm wondering if you have any data to share of the number of students who did not get any of their listed choices, and if there's any further effort by District 2 or by other by a citywide effort to examine the number of students who are not getting their choices and the departures from the city, given that District 2 has the highest attrition rate of students.
The data I have show that 5% of students did not get a school of their choice, but I can't break that down into what the actual specifics were regarding their application and the different dynamics of that. I think that the number is small enough to know that we should be able to go into those data and know what the applications actually look like, so that we have our specifics. In regard to families who have left the system, we don't have audited register data yet that can be shared for the 2022-2023 school year. The data that we have been introduced to that is not audited, that is just some preliminary numbers have been shared. So that the number of partners has slowed considerably, and that the enrollment for 2022-2023 was somewhat flat in comparison to the previous years. But again, these are just draft data that haven't really been structurally clean. I have spoken with a couple of other council members who are not here this evening, and then certainly our data that I know the council is eager to see. And so we will work with the admissions and enrollment office to find those data and show when it is we can share them publicly.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions. Superintendent McGuire, as a returning member from our last community education council, as you're aware, our last community education council was rather critical and took issue with how that process in terms of middle school admissions, specifically engagement, was carried out in District 2. There were a number of resolutions that were passed, and highly critical of how it was handled. Can you tell us how you anticipate that process is going to be different this time around in terms of both community engagement and interactions with our newly constituted community education council? That's part one of the question. And the part two of that question is, can you also tell us, is there going to be an attempt made to have engagement sort of earlier rather than waiting until the very last minute, and parents will get the impression that decisions have already been made at the time that the actual engagement sessions have taken place? Because that was really a very serious bone of contention between our past council and your leadership. So if you would just address that.
Yes, for sure. We have a slightly longer timeline than we had last year when I was first tasked with this work around developing most commissions policy. I think in the fall of 2022, we had about 19 days that we had in order to the time of the announcement and the time in which we had to make a decision. It's a very short timeline, but and this year is a very short timeline as well. But what we do need to do is make sure that the engagement that we have is done in a way that is transparent, and I'm committing to a transparent process. Talking about it here tonight, I'm saying that I would like to work with the Education Council and Admissions Committee, as well as the students in some of our schools, try to get to many of them as we possibly can in the fall. But I will also say that the timeline for this needs to be done by early October, so that families who are applying to middle school for the fall 2024 know exactly what it is that they're applying to, and what the programs are in schools in the district for the 24 class.
My next series of questions revolves around the children of migrant children that are coming into our district. That this is not even critical of the efforts in our district, and I understand that this is something that is a citywide issue that is that everyone can do whatever they can to deal with this problem. And I say it's a problem because we have an enormous number of students that are coming into our district. You mentioned between 1,300 and 1,600. So my first question is that the actual, is the number currently fall between 1,300 and 1,600, or is it anticipated that by the beginning of the school year, that number will be higher and continue to trend upward? And could you also just tell us what the present enrollment of District 2 is in terms of students?
I don't know the present enrollment specifically right at hand, but if you want to send me that information via email, I'll make sure that we'll cover it out for the August meeting. There's also some different numbers that can be raised in terms of whether they're including pre-K, at high school. So if you send me that via email, I should report it out August 8th. I have one number that is reported to me on a regular basis, and that is in the students who are living in temporary housing for currently enrolled in the district. Currently, that number sits between 1,300 and 1,700, I think, and 1,300 and 1,600. The district has always served students who are living in temporary homes. We have several shelters that have long-standing relationships between students and families in the district. And we have some schools that have always served large numbers of students who are living in temporary housing. I can't say for sure whether or not what the number may be in the fall. Throughout the course of the 22-23 school year, we had weeks in which we were enrolling hundreds of kids in our schools. And then we had weeks where we were enrolling practically zero. We have learned of just one new temporary shelter that has been opened up on the Upper East Side in the 90s on 3rd Street, 3rd Avenue. It's 93rd or 96th, I think which one. So we expect that there will be students who will be living there, who will enroll in some of our schools on the Upper East Side, but I can't say whether or not that will result in a net gain or loss of students for in the district and families. But I can do my best to report what that number is. Also knowing what the number that is easiest to report is the number of all students who are living in temporary housing. We just know that that number is much larger right now because we are serving a lot of students with various systems.
And again, related to that question, I think one of the concerns that parents in the district have is that there doesn't seem to be an equitable distribution of those students, where you have certain schools that are getting significant numbers of those students, which is taxing resources to those schools, and I really find it hard to deal with those students. And I think I've been hearing that there's a concern about people specifically who language and things like that, they're not getting the attention that they need. They're basically dumping the classroom. I want to make sure that's something that we don't have in the district. Is there a process or procedure whereby the seats are allocated? So, for example, is it just related to where a shelter is open? So you mentioned, for example, 80th Street, 3rd Avenue. Does that mean that schools in that area, such as it's 198, or do they expect more students there? I'm just trying to find out how the students are distributed, how that's
So the first point of enrollment is the school in which the official producer. So his 198 is the sole school for the shelter on the Upper East Side. However, when the families enroll their children at school, we are talking about kids who are anywhere from age 3 or entering community programs to up to high schools. And as well as students who are enrolling in alternative education programs as well. Students who might have taken 2 years or whatever the families are making their choice about an alternative education program rather than a traditional high school. When families visit the Family Welcome Center, the Family Welcome Center comes to them, which has been the case in supporting some families in some shelters. They are presented with 2 different options. And one of the options is around participating in a dual language program. And what our district does, and our city does, is that the default school is one in which that is zoned for the shelter, but the family will then see an alternative program for their child. Then we can go at different parts of the district or outside of the district in order to make an enrollment follow. Once the school fills up, though, then we do look at other schools that are in the area. And when we say fill up, that doesn't mean that every parent has the best of the child. It just means that the maximum class size capacity has been met for a particular grade level for a particular school. And so when that happens, then we do move on to other schools, trying to keep in mind the parent, keep in mind issues of geography, so that we can really support the parents.
And I assure you this will be no path. One concern that I certainly have is that, is there a test, there's an evaluation of the students to see what their capabilities are, because if it's just being based on age, you have students have been in school, or they've been walking or traveling for like the past year. So how is that determined, how we're placing students, are we just placing people because somebody might be 14 years old at a certain grade, even though academically they may be, lacking or be deficient in certain areas because they just haven't had that kind of education.
Yeah, so some of those decisions are appropriate and may have to be enrollment office, specifically in relationship to the school placement. When a family comes into the enrollment office, what happens is that they are interviewed. The enrollment officer does find out what grade the child completed last. They learn a little bit about their educational history. Even if the child, sometimes if the child has only completed the 4th grade, but they aren't over age, it is made to place them in an age appropriate school. So they may be interested in they may be enrolled in middle school. It really varies child to child. The ones who did fit school, then an evaluation does take place immediately, both in English and in home language. Engagement or really difference with kids, find out how it is that they are doing. So we can make sure that we have good information starting out to develop an educational program.
Thank you. Do any other?
I have a question. Yeah, I guess on the same topic of students, children of the silence spirits. I guess we've been asking you about, what the district is doing for the students, but I guess I have a question or maybe a request, and you don't have to answer it right now because this seems to be an ongoing thing, but I'm just curious to ask you, what do you think that we as a council can do to better support you and better support the families of the asylum seekers? Just because, for the most part, we do not really from them in our council meetings, so we may not, know what, their needs are. So there are things just ongoing on an ongoing basis that this council can do to make resources or advocate for the students to do that.
I just want to answer that a little. I just wanted to say that our past council, specifically some members of our council, I want to single out Rob McKellar, who did outstanding work in terms of collecting materials, types of cases, and you name it, clothing, and I think how you were part of that, weren't you?
I definitely housed the items in my office for a long period of time.
So our council has been doing quite a lot of significant work. We do the coming into our district.
I guess I guess I'm thinking more about sort of like a policy level and kind of a longer term sort of administrative level at the DOE, rather than sort of other. So we know that that's important. I guess it's just more in our hands.
I can touch on that a little bit. I would just say that all things are needed for our students. Really. When I spoke with when we were pulling together this grant application, I had teachers from various schools come together and speak with me a little bit about what it is they were hearing from both both within their school and from families in terms of what it is that is needed. There are still a need for some basics, and the grant that we intend to submit to the state will include a sizable chunk of funds that we'd like to dedicate specifically to survive. But I would say also that some of the structures that have been in place in different parts of the district around dual language programs to support newcomer families is something that we are seeking to help to build and develop here in our district as well, and support for those dual language programs. So specifically targeting new families, I think is work that we can definitely benefit from.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just as a follow-up, Superintendent, and this was part of the resolution which we won't hear tonight because we don't have a quorum. Have you asked the families what they want? And how they can be helped? Because they're the best, they're the ones who, sorry, they're the ones who are gonna know the most what they need and what's been lacking from our school system.
Yes, we have, that's actually the information that we're looking to put into the grants. Some of the things that stick out, personally, is when, when you speak with the adults, and you're hearing so much about, their lives, you're hearing about, the needs of their children, first and foremost. But then you're learning more about, them and what they need, and I would say that every single person that I have spoken with, or that has been, where it's been reported out to me, conversations that teachers, schools and other staff have been having with parents, is a relationship to them trying to earn money, so that they can begin to set down roots here in New York. And so they're looking for opportunities for jobs. They're looking for transportation support that can be helpful to them. In some cases, communication support so that they can be in touch with potential employers. So there are people are really trying to do their best so that they can begin to set down roots and really create a better life for their family.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent McGuire. Thank you, Deputy Superintendents. We're not going to have any resolutions. We're not going to have any public speaking sessions because we don't have a quorum. For those of you who in the audience who are just.
Is a quorum required for public speaking? I don't.
Our bylaw, if
Oh.
anyone would like to
Yeah.
look at the bylaws, they can,
Anthony?
yes, of course you can. You can read 3.1 of quorum. In the case of 3.1 of our CECD2 bylaws say quorum, and it says in the case of a calendar meeting without a quorum, any program presentation and the report of the superintendent shall be allowed to go forward before the meeting is adjourned.
I think that if people have come expecting to speak, they should be allowed to speak at this meeting.
I think that we should observe our bylaws.
The bylaws do not say that there's no public speaking section. Can you show me where in the?
Yes,
in the
I
bylaws
just
it says?
read it to you.
It does not say that there is no
The
public
bylaws,
speaking section
Gavin.
permitted. It says that we as a
This
council
is-
cannot vote on things, but it does not say that we cannot hear from the public. Are we not here to hear from the public?
That's exactly what we're here for.
Glenn, you have to
We-
run a
yes,
proper meeting,
we are.
adjourn the meeting.
We're gonna adjourn the meeting right now. We're here to hold the meeting.
Move to adjourn the meeting and I'll second it.
And you're not in accordance with bylaws.
Glenn, move to adjourn and I'll
I'm
second it.
moving to adjourn the meeting.
And I second it, meeting adjourned.
And I'd also just ask that members of
Glenn.
the,
You need to vote on the move,
There's a sign up sheet right there. Why is there a sign up sheet? If we're not going to hear from the public.
there was a sign up sheet based on the assumption that we would have a quorum. And that we would be holding our meetings. We have a motion and it's been seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
aye.
3, all opposed? All right,
3-3.
3 to 3.
I have a motion that we hear from the public.
You're the president. You
I have a
decide to
second.
split
Yeah.
vote,
Oh,
Glenn.
we have a second to the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, the
But
motion,
this-
it's,
The motion on the table hasn't been finished, Gavin.
it's 3-3. I don't know.
Right, and at 3-3, the president decides the motion.
I'm deciding the meetings will be adjourned.
The meeting, calendar meeting is adjourned. Can you call the roll call for the working meeting, please?
How good flag it down.
Roll call for the working meeting.
We're now gonna be pulling the regular, I'm sorry, the working meeting calendar. And roll call. Councilmember Bowen,
Jennifer Green, legislator, that it's inappropriate to have any motion because we don't have a quorum. So we should move on to the working business meeting. on roll call.
Well, when the members. Calling it Allison Bowen. Not present. Charles Love. Greg Slutskin,
Mr. President.
Daniela Ergarov, not present. Robert Healy. Jessica Savage.
Present.
President present, Manpreet Bopari, not present, Ward Marin,
Present.
Sabina Sirleaf. We do not have a quorum, but we can still discuss, we can still discuss some of the issues.
No.
Well, we can discuss it unofficially. I had spoken with Anthony Settle, and even though we do not have a quorum, we can still talk amongst ourselves about certain issues. Sure. Yeah.
We'll keep them for the next meeting.
Sure, one of the issues that has come up is the appointment of administrative assistant. Right now, Anthony Settle is doing that. He has provided a stack of resumes. We can unofficially, we don't need a committee to do this, but is there anyone that would be interested in volunteering to go through those resumes unofficially to?
I've done it before, so I think we can do it.
Okay, so we have Maud, anyone else? I'll do it, I want you to do it, Maud.
Charles,
Okay,
is that a
Maud.
volunteer?
Say, do you need that?
That would be great to get that.
Okay, and we have Charles, and of course, if there are any other members who are not here, we'll send out an email and we can. And we can
Happy
feel
to help with that too.
to join that. Right now, also, I just want to say that because we can't do a treasurer, we don't have a treasurer, so we can't have a budget. People can't get reimbursed, so that's something we'll have to deal with a later point in time. Any other,
Then how do you want to handle taking minutes for this, from this evening? So that when we do have a quorum, we can, vote on those minutes and post them.
I will take the minutes.
And, pardon me, I have a question. Do we have the excuses for the absences at this meeting?
Again, there's no procedure for a excused or unexcused absence because the procedure, you have to notify the president or the administrative assistant. We do not have a president, we do not have an administrative assistant.
You were the president just a minute ago. You were acting as the president
And
to break the tie.
Well,
And so now you're not willing to
I'm
act as the
acting as
president.
the chair,
Gavin,
not the,
excuse me, Gavin, I believe they were under the impression that the first meeting was on Tuesday, because that is what the standing meeting was. That's what Superintendent McGuire told me it was.
The
So
bylaws
I
say
don't
it's the
see
second
that.
Wednesday in July.
Yes, but that's what it was communicated. So people acted under the premise that that was the date. I'm here because my flight got canceled, or I wouldn't have been here. I flew out on Wednesday because I was told the meeting was Tuesday. There's your reason for access.
any other issues that you guys just want to talk about informally in terms of the working business meeting, otherwise we'll adjourn.
No, nothing for.
This is one issue. If we are going to circulate resolutions, I'd appreciate it if we would, circulate that to the whole council. I shouldn't get the resolution or revised version of the resolution through the public meeting notes. So it would be great. I know, Len, you sent out the email about, sharing it as a group. And so that would, and the same with the meeting, the notice of adjournment and things. If we're going to conduct business as a council, we should do it as a council and not, separately, independently. I just would appreciate that and just putting that on the record. For everyone.
Okay. Any other issue? Okay, I'm gonna call for an adjournment of the working business meeting. All in favor?
Adjourn.